Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy that we can do an art project together today. And I know a lot of you have paper and construction paper and pens and paint, but all of my things are up at the JCC. Some of you know me from the family room. I'm Susan. Some of you know me from art camp. And some of you might not know me. So I'm very happy that we can be together today. And today we're just going to do something called Zentangle. And it's just a way of drawing that doesn't need to be right or wrong, and you can do almost anything you want and end up with a beautiful result. One of the pieces that I've started working with is right here. And as you can see, I just used black permanent marker and drew lines. And this just started with a scribble. I'm going to put it down on this table, but I opened up one of the paper bags from the grocery store to make a clean space, and I just cut it open. Some of you have these at home, I would imagine, and you can just cut and end up with a nice protection for your table. I've also been getting a lot of things shipped to the house, so I have some cardboard that I cut also, and you can use cardboard to use as a surface to protect as well as for your art. This paper is just from the computer printer, and you can use white or you can use a color. And I'm just going to start with a black marker because that's traditional for Zentangle. And sometimes you can just make a squiggle. And you can make it a curvy, organic scribble. You can do lines. You can turn the paper and see if one of the lines should connect. And it doesn't really matter how many lines you have, where you start, where you stop, because as you're going along, it's going to change. Now this marker is just a regular fine point, but you can use thick and thin and mix up the texture. And what you're going to do is find just a space that looks interesting. And I think this one's too big. I'm just going to draw this line to the edge and this line over here. And then you're just going to doodle. And I'm going to practice on here first so I can show you. You can do lines that are straight. You can do squiggly lines. You can go back and add more lines that are geometric. You can add circles. You can color in. And to be little loops. And I'm just going to go along the straight line with some curved lines. And maybe I'll do some after that that are a little bit bigger. And sometimes when I'm working on a Zentangle project, I really don't think about anything else but what I'm doing, because I'm just having fun making the shapes. And sometimes I'll stop and I'll think, maybe I should try a shape on the other side. So I'll connect some of the lines so each section has a way to connect, but isn't always the same. So I'm going to put some stripes inside these triangles, and I'm going to put some stripes inside those little loops, and that will change the texture of what I'm working on. And if you're drawing at your house right now, you can be doing something completely different. You might want to make X's and connect the X's. Or you might want to make circles. They almost look like bubbles. And you can go back in and make little ones. I'm going to get hungry. These look like donuts. And you can just keep going with lines and squiggles. And I know that it's going to take a little longer to finish this than the time that we have. So I'm just going to go over here and show you the one that I had started before. And I left some of the spaces empty. And I'm going to go back and do some lines. And every time I have a big shape, I just try to make little shapes inside of it. You could even do your initial. So my name starts with an S, so I could just do a whole bunch of S's and hide those in my design. And eventually, this will be all filled in and it will be absolutely beautiful. Now you can leave it black, or you could add colors afterwards. I started one before that I worked with some cool colors. And this one is just some geometric lines, and I was fooling around with just blue and purple and green, and those were some wider markers. But you can definitely add in more colors and choose your favorites, or go back into your black and white design and add colors where it's white. And you can do patterns. Sometimes that looks really nice. You can use colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. So maybe some orange and some blue might look good together. And then you might even want to use some of those colors in a different space. So if you started with one color in one of your shapes, you can go back and use color in one of the other ones. The other idea that you might want to try is very easy, and if you don't feel that a doodle is easy to do, you can do some tracing. I just recycled my yogurt container, washed it out and dried it, and this will make a perfect circle because I can't draw a perfect circle. So I think I'm going to do this one in purple. And all you need to do is hold down your shape where you want it to be. You can use a jar lid. You can use all different sizes. If you've got milk bottle caps and spaghetti caps from the sauce, you can do that. You can do the circles next to each other. It's also fun to overlap it and make another design, because when the circles are overlapped, you get other smaller shapes. If you want to get fancy, you could make it look like a flower or an insect, but I usually like it to be abstract because I never know when I start how it's going to end. So I think I'm just going to go around and around this many times. And just going to continue with the purple. I think I'm going to start with the littlest section and just do some curved lines. And we can keep going with that. We can do some straight lines. And then once we have a few straight lines going across, we can add some going vertically. And then you can go back in and you can color in every other box that you've made, every third box, whatever seems to work. You can go back and add other colors. You can also do some of the design in some of the space, but not continue it all the way through so that you get some variation. You can also get fancy and go around your shapes and make more designs on the outside of what you've traced as well as on the inside. And again, you can go back in every single shape and just do a little doodle. You can listen to music while you do this, and it's just a nice way to stop thinking about everything else and just focus on what you're working on. The other idea that you might want to do is with your first initial. So my name is Susan, and it's kind of hard for me to do bubble letters, so what I usually do is just kind of make a letter and then go back and make it a little wider on the inside and a little wider on the outside. And this one isn't so bad. And then you can do your Zentangle shapes inside. You can do triangles and squiggles and lines. any way it comes out is absolutely fine. And I find sometimes my pen might skip or go in a different direction and I don't like it as well as I hoped. And I'll just color it in and change what I started and just adapt. And that's okay. The other fun thing to do after you have your letter is to try to hide it. So you can just leave it plain, or you can do some lines radiating from the sides. I usually like to go right to the edges of the paper, but you might have a whole different idea. You might want to go around. You might want to connect it to your letter. And it kind of makes more spaces. And you could go back and do your doodling in your Zentangle inside of these shapes. But one other thing that you can do is find some magazines and some catalogs that no one's using right now, and you go through and you look for pages that have a lot of color, and you just cut out areas that have a lot of color. I don't usually like to do it with words and letters, but you could do an alphabet one or find all the letters in your name, but I like to just look for big areas that have a big section of color, like this blue rug and this yellow bench would be perfect. And I already cut out a few pieces. This was from an advertisement for shampoo and someone's coat. And all I do is I just do a little bit like a mosaic and just snip and cut. You can do long strips and then go back and cut them that way. And you can see the other side isn't purple, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is just put down some colored glue, and you can use any kind of glue that you have. This happens to be a school glue stick, but you can use Elmer's glue. You could even use tape. You could paint with a Q-tip if you wanted to make little dots. And you just go back in and you create a design with your little pieces of purple paper or blue paper, whatever it is that you found. This one's not square, but it's going to fit right in here. I feel like I'm making a puzzle. And you just keep putting in as many as you want. And then in the next section, you could do just cool colors. You could find a blue or a green and just keep cutting. One of the ones that I started working on before had a toothpaste ad and a dress and all different things that I cut up, but I found all the colors of the rainbow. And then I started fooling around with the inside, doing orange and red and yellow and green and blue and purple on the inside of my shapes. I think on this one I'm going to keep it just one color in the center. So you have choices. You can try doing it with many colors or just one or two and experiment and have fun. And if you want to take a picture of your picture and send it along to the Mandel JCC, we would love to see it. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.